Budget of 2.5 billion rupees, box office estimated business of over 5.5 billion. Padmavat is the most expensive Hindi film and one of the most expensive Indian films ever made. Bollywood is really pushing boundaries. It is the first Indian film to be released in IMAX 3D. Technological boundaries pushed to limits. I had seen few Hollywood movies in IMAX 3D, and it was a pleasant surprise to see Bollywood doing the same magic. With such a nice, larger-than-life setup, artistic boundaries are also pushed to limits. Direction, acting, cinematography, songs, makeup, and costumes. And the story makes such an impact that it will last for decades. The SLB style. A tremendous coordinated effort which not only entertains but also helps in gaining more soft power for India. I think this movie should be a matter of pride for every Indian. Are you feeling proud? I do. Especially because I am a non-resident Indian. There are not too many connections available abroad which could make me feel Indian again. This is where Bollywood comes to my rescue. When I went to theatre to watch Padmavat, looking at people from so many nationalities, I get more and more convinced that India is well on its way to become a superpower. But there are few who are creating nuisance for invalid reasons. In my review, I will talk about many aspects of this movie, which is remarkable. I will also touch upon few topics which had been quite controversial and will try to analyze it, maintaining a flawless neutrality. And this review is not only about facts. I assume that you know most of the basic facts about Padmavat. Here I will talk more about inferences and deductive conclusions, approached through logical manner. Now let me take few points one by one. The first thing which comes into everyone's mind is, has Padmavat distorted history? A simple and crisp answer lies in the disclaimer shown in the beginning of the movie. Filmmakers are not claiming it to be based on history, then how does it leave any room for any other to claim for that? Padmavat is based on the epic Padmavat by Sufi poet Malik Muhammad Jaisi, which is a revered work of fiction, and no one knows accurate facts. I doubt that even authentic books of history could give details of nitty-gritty facts. No, they certainly cannot, because even those authors of history were biased and probably manipulated facts to suit their beliefs. This movie is based on the fiction, so there are bound to be factual inaccuracies, but it should be acceptable. There are some well-known facts from history which I would also like to call conclusions. Why conclusions? Because they are backed by innumerous facts of history. Let me give a couple of examples. Foreign invaders were barbarous. It's backed by many evidences. It can't be denied at all. Rajputs, although politically disintegrated, were bravest of the braves. It can't be denied at all. In medieval ages, advanced civilizations were often defeated by barbarians who knew nothing of civilized society and affluence. These are examples of conclusions which are almost impossible to deny, because they are backed not only by history books but also from innumerous other sources. All can't be wrong. Or more precisely speaking, in probabilistic sense, there are hardly any chance that these facts could be wrong. But on the contrary, let us take example of Khilji being portrayed as bisexual. Now that is actually not important. Homosexual, heterosexual, or bisexual, it simply does not matter so far as the main theme of the movie is concerned. Although historical references for and against this fact could be corrected, but no one can determine for sure that Khilji was bisexual. The producer has taken creative freedom to portray it. That's it. That's all. A film on Alexander the Great also had such controversy. These controversies should be allowed to live their own life. They will subside by and by. It's like vaccination. If you want resistance from some disease, inject it in small amount and you will be resistant to it. Your body will learn how to deal with it. But if you just avoid taking care of the disease, closing your eyes and ears in hope that it will never haunt you in future, you are making a mistake. It will come again, each time more powerful than it ever had been. So allow any controversial things and don't get provoked by them. Indian Muslim population have displayed great tolerance to it. Just by looking at the subject of the film and the way Khilji had been showed off, it was quite natural to expect demonstrations from this community. But it was not so. This shows how mature this community has become with time. Keep this up, please. It will only help in making India greater. Interestingly, the protest is coming from altogether different community. Unexpected. Karni Sena, of course. For me, it was hard to believe that they are opposing a movie which showcased their valor, resilience, and adherence to a morality of highest standard. They damaged public properties and indulged violently to stop such a masterpiece movie. Think over it a little bit. There are few possibilities. Marketing stunt by movie production team? No evidence. Extortion attempt by Karni Sena? Can't say. May be true, but no concrete proof. Karni Sena wanted to become more famous and they have at least succeeded in doing so. Did you know about Karni Sena before Padmavat movie production? I did not know. So they have become famous, rather notorious. Yes, this is their achievement. Unfortunately, by doing so, they have tarnished the image of great Rajputana culture. But I feel glad that they ultimately failed in their vicious and opportunistic attempt. Many things could be said or assumed, but few things could be said for sure. Karni Sena has tried to throttle the basic right of expression without any valid background. I agree that right to expression should have some limitations, but these limitations should be rare of the rarest category. It should be well thought and not rampant. It was very nice to see that almost everywhere no one buckled to their pacer. It only proves that India is becoming resistant to such pressures, and organizations like Karni Sena are increasingly considered valueless. I see the art of movie production as religious texts. Sometimes they may appear ambiguous and unclear, and that makes them prone to all sorts of misinterpretations. That's why they should not be taken word by word or by their face value. But there are some common elements which could be said to be their core message. So what is Padmavat's core message? Let me take you few of them which could act as takeaway from this video. India had been politically disintegrated and it suffered miserably because of it. Despite being rich and cultured, they suffered series of brutal defeats. The consequences are shown in Padmavat. These consequences are scary and no country would like to experience them. Can you imagine the course of history if Rajputs were united, at least when external invaders trampled India? Result could easily have been the opposite of what actually happened. No one can erase past, but future can always be molded favorably. This is not suitable era for disintegrating and splitting up. This is an era of integration. Europe, after fighting with each other, became united, and now no one could defeat them. NATO is just invincible today. That is the power of integration. You are reinforced and protected from external aggression. You prosper and contribute to a better world. So United India is inevitable for survival. This is the lesson I get from Padmavat. Another tradition which I would like to talk about is Johar. This tradition was horrible and it was also a byproduct of political disintegration, for sure. When civilizations clashed, as it happened during medieval age in India, no international laws like Geneva Convention were there to take care of defeated side. They were totally on mercy of victorious army. And you can easily imagine what will happen when the victorious army is barbarian, knowing nothing of virtue, moral, and humanity. Then the only practical way to safeguard their self-respect was self-destruction. In my view, this tradition was the only practical way to safeguard honor of the country and its people, even in face of defeat. But in today's world, it is simply not needed. Few people think that this movie promotes Sati or Johar tradition. They are simply out of their mind. In my view, it's all about showing what happened without hiding anything, and really takes great courage to do so. I congratulate SLB for such courage and wish him best of luck for future endeavors. Khilji is shown as evil. He was. And he was just one of them. To object how he was portrayed are either identifying themselves with him or being overly compassionate. As I said earlier, there are innumerable sources to prove atrocities done by foreign invaders, as rich India was an easy target. Malaysia is the first country to ban the screening of Padmavat, citing communal uneasiness. Malaysia, a Muslim majority country, has banned the film over concerns regarding sensitivities of Islam. This was not expected from such a progressive country like Malaysia. Islam is far greater than Khilji or Ghajini. These barbarians can ruin countries, loot wealth, but they simply don't have power to malign a great religion. I cannot understand what Khilji has to do with Islam. Just because he happened to be a Muslim does not mean that he is doing all acts in his life in influence of his religion. Religion and invaders were weakly correlated. Yes, they used religion as a political tool to unite, but that does not mean that it was their sole inspiration. Their inspirations happen to be wealth, land, and carnal desires. By banning the film, Malaysia is broadcasting a wrong message to the world that Islam and Khilji were the same. I strongly object to this. It's not a correct decision. Khilji's behavior should not be generalized. Generalization is always wrong because there are always exceptions. And let me tell you about one of the mistakes in the movie. In one of the dialogues, Padmavati compares Khilji with Ravan. In my view, it is not the correct analogy. It's because Ravan also knew limits. Although he did many wicked things, but even then he had much more higher value levels than Khilji. There is no comparison between these two.